Like that is your North Star. Because how you can continuously align to that path, that timeline, is asking questions like, what does she do every day? What kind of choices does she make? Or you can connect with her and even ask her, what actions should I take that will keep me on this path of my highest timeline? And she'll tell you. Hello, hello, beloveds. Hello, and welcome back to the Sovereign Goddess podcast. I hope that you enjoyed last week's episode where I shared my most listened to episode, and I hope that you got a lot from it. And I wonder, would share with me, send me a quick email, like, or send a message to me. What are some of your takeaways that you got from last week's episode, and how did it bless you? I would love to hear from you. You know, it is one of those episodes that just is expansive in itself. People just keep coming back to it, and it's one of my earliest episodes. So I hope you really enjoyed it in celebration of the Sovereign Goddess podcast's birthday. Today, we're going to be diving into a mystical truth, and I'll actually have my fingers in quotation here, that affects us more than we realize. And this is shifting timelines. I know if you're on the social media world or even in the spiritual woo-woo world, you hear a lot of quantum jumping, timelines, timeline this, we're jumping timeline. But what does it really mean? Right? So we're gonna break it down. So you realize it's not this fancy thing that you have to do. Have you ever made a decision, big or small, and felt like everything changed afterwards? That's not just coincidence, that's a timeline shift. And today I'll walk you through how your choices, energy, and intentions ripple into reality, and how you can begin to consciously choose the timeline you desire to walk. We'll explore simple ways you can begin anchoring into your most expansive timeline right now. And of course, if you're feeling the call to go deeper, this is your invitation to join me inside my Goddess Unleashed or Elevated Empath containers. Because you know what? The version of you you're becoming is ready to rise. All right, are you ready? Let's dive in. So, first of all, what is shifting timelines? Let's talk. What are timelines? What does it mean when someone says, "Oh, let's shift your timeline"? So let's quantum jump into a different timeline. See, shifting timelines isn't just about jumping into a new dimension, which is what usually ties into that, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to go into a new dimension. What it really means, and what it really pertains to is about you aligning with a reality that reflects the vibration of your current choices, beliefs, and energy. This is very important because it puts the power back into you. Where when you hear about quantum jumping and shifting timelines, it tends to be like, oh, I'm gonna do this big jump and I'm gonna appear somewhere else and I'm gonna experience that. Again, a big part of my work is to break down these big spiritual jargon words that create more confusion than it's supposed to. And one of it is shifting timelines, right? And I talked a little bit earlier about what that really means. And what it is simply is about how your choices, your emotions, your like your beliefs, what they align to. Here's the thing. Let's just say this. We're constantly shifting timelines. It is more common than you think. Each choice, each decision that you make, you choose a different pathway. I want you to envision, I'm seeing like an image of a tree with branches, and you're standing at the base of the tree trunk, right? That part there. And then above you have all these branches that go out. And to determine which one that you want to go on. It's not like one is bad and one is not. It's all about, where am I? What am I feeling? What am I believing? Because here's the thing, that is what creates our reality. So choosing that. So if you say, in this moment, I want to feel loved, then you're going to be guided on a timeline where you feel more loved in all sorts of ways, right? If in this moment you don't believe that you are loved, that you are worthy, that you are enough, guess what? You in that moment are aligned to a timeline that shows you constantly how you're not worthy, how you're not enough, right? I feel like this is part of what we're here to experience, because it teaches us. Sometimes we have to know the darker aspect in order to truly appreciate the light. We need to learn what it means to not be enough so that we can, when we step into the I am enough, regardless of what is going on, because that's my birthright, then we can appreciate that, right? So, this timeline thing, I want us to just erase good, bad, dark, light, and simply bring it to you. You are very important in this, okay? Your choices, your energy, your frequency, your emotions, they're the ones that make the choice of what timeline you choose to step on. Whether it's a timeline of education, which is education through challenges, or a timeline where you are experiencing your best self. It's all up to you. And each day, the choices that you make are like voting tokens. Does that make sense? Each choice that you make, they vote for a certain timeline that is in alignment with that feeling or that belief or that energy. It's all about alignment here. It's like if you're feeling like to your core, you're just feeling like you're not enough, you can't you can't attract a timeline where you are enough, because you have to learn why that does not serve you anymore. And you also, through that, you have to heal whatever is in the way or pulling you down to make you feel like you're not enough. Whether it's a belief, whether it's something that someone told you a long time ago, right? Part of that process is identifying all the things that prevent you from actually feeling how you really want to feel, which is knowing to the core of you that you are enough, that you are loved, that you are supported. Like, for example, let's say you are working with a practitioner coach, and they're like, I'm going to help you jump timelines. And yes, you can bring in light language to do that. You can do activations. So, there's spiritual tools that you can bring in to help someone jump timelines. But if you don't help that person work through all the things that might be in the way of staying on that timeline that is for their that is here for them, that they know they're here to live, it won't last. They might jump into that timeline, feel it a little bit, and then they jump right back because deep down they still don't believe they can experience that. It's like you're working with your different choices. It's like, okay, what do I want to experience today? Actually, this is why journaling, I'm going to bring it back later. One of the tools that you can use to align with your highest path. Does that make sense? So we're just starting out with the things that might be in the way of you experiencing your highest timeline. Because here's the thing, your soul is already aligned to your highest timeline, but your soul is also helping you to learn what you need to learn. And so you move over here to this timeline so you can learn this, and you move over there to that timeline so you can learn this. But at some point, as you're moving from timeline to timeline, you begin to recognize that, whoa, I'm the one who chooses what timeline to be on. And if at any moment, if I feel like this timeline I don't want to experience it anymore. I have the power to shift timelines through my actions, through my choices, through my emotions, and through my energy. I have the power of choosing which timeline I want to exist on. And so, like it is that simple. Now the action portion, now that's a whole different because now you're doing healing, you're releasing, you're identifying what might be in the way of you experiencing your highest timeline, and you're moving through all of that education. I'm gonna call it cosmic education or soul education. There we go. I like that better. You have to move through all of that so you can get to that space where you're clear and you can simply see the path and walk on the path. It's not a linear thing. It's not a good or bad thing. Does that make sense? That's the stigma I'm trying to break here. And it's not only it's not something that only special people experience. We are all experiencing. Actually, there are people who are unconsciously creating timelines and existing on these timelines that are not for their highest good and not realizing that they are. We are constantly creating timelines. We are constantly shifting timelines. Now, what I'm talking about is more like us individually on our soul journey. Because if we're bringing it even bigger in terms of humanity and Earth, we know the earth also moves through timelines, and actually those ones you can feel it when the earth or the cosmos shifts into a different timeline. Again, that bigger shift, it gathers all the contribution of everyone. So everyone's choices, emotions, frequency, that's what decides the timeline that we all exist in. That it's like the soup that we all get to play in, right? But how we contribute to the bigger one is through us choosing our soul timelines, us making the choices that honors our soul path, really doing the work to clear all the clutter that might be in the way of you walking on your soul path. What is your soul path? It's the path that excites you. It's the path that makes you feel your best. It's the path where you experience more beauty, more love, more support. It's the path where you get to be your best self, right? You get to define that. What is your soul path? You feel it. It's something that you feel. And perhaps you've been chasing it this whole time and not realized that that is part of your soul's mission, right? And which is why it's important to align to that, because your soul is the North Star. Regardless of how many timelines you have to jump to learn whatever you need to learn to move through challenges, your soul will always guide you back to where you need to be. Again, this is why you shouldn't be afraid that, oh my gosh, I'm jumping timelines all the time. Oh, does that mean that I have to think positive all the time? That is not human. Okay. We are here to experience all the emotions. We're here to have both the negative and positive experiences. We're here to be challenged so that our soul can evolve. So it's not necessarily like I have to think positive 24/7. There's no room for negative. No, it's about what you're learning as you're experiencing, let's say, sadness. Really diving into that. Why am I feeling sad? What is behind the sadness? What do I need to heal? Or perhaps what do I need to release? Is this sadness even mine? Right? That is the gold. What you do with those emotions, whether positive or negative, that is the gold. And that is what chooses what timeline you decide to be on. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the importance of aligning with your true north. What is that big vision? What is, let's say, your future self? Who is your future self? What is that dream or vision that you see that you are striving for? That is going to be your guiding light. So if you see your future self as this powerful woman who has created a legacy, an authentic legacy of love, and you can see her, like you have to be able to envision her, not like when I say see, not like with your eyes, because it depends on your gift. You might just feel feel this version of you. You might just see it in your third eye or inside of your head or in your mind, right? Or you might just know, like you have that clear picture of who this version of yourself is, living her best life. Like that is your North Star. Because how you can continuously align to that path, that timeline, is asking questions like, what does she do every day? What kind of choices does she make? Or you can connect with her and even ask her, what actions should I take that will keep me on this path of my highest timeline? And she'll tell you. You're talking to yourself, right? You're getting answers from yourself. So I talked about your choices. Your choices equals energetic votes. Your emotions equals frequency codes. And the repetition is what anchors everything in. It's the root. Every time you choose love over fear, trust over doubt, expansion over contraction, you're stepping into a different path. A new version of you begins to rise. I love this part. I had to share that. And again, the gold is in the journey. How did you choose love over fear? It's not about pretending that you are all love and light all the time, right? Because if deeper, your core self is like, no, I'm not love. It does not matter how much you're pretending. You are on a timeline that honors that false. Yeah, it's false because that's not really the true you. You're yearning love because that is who you are, right? So by not facing why you feel like you are unlovable, you create a timeline and you exist on a timeline where you're constantly being shown how you are unlovable in hopes that one day you will break that pattern and say, no, that is not me. Okay, and it's like we're all sitting at a campfire, right? And there's embers that keep popping, and where you're sitting, it keeps popping and like hitting your hand and burning you and burning you and burning you. And you're all you have to do is move. But in a way, it's like you have to be burned enough to be like, enough. I don't want to be burned anymore. And then you move, you move from that space so that you're not getting the embers burning you anymore. And that's what some of these, the purpose of these timelines that are challenging, that's kind of their purpose. That hopefully, if we're showing you what is not you constantly, at some point you're going to be like, enough. That's not me. That's not what I want. And you would choose something else. And I think a big part about choices is that you understand both. Both, like if I choose this is where it's going to take me. So it's asking us to be conscious of our choices, knowing both positive and the negative choice. If I go this way, if I continue going this way, continue making this choice, then I'm gonna always receive this result. And if I continue making this choice over here and continue making that choice, then I'm gonna have this result. And it's a matter of, do I want this result over that? And if I want this one, then I go this way. And I keep making those choices that will take me that way. Right. So it is asking us to be conscious of what we are choosing and why we're choosing it. You know, it's not blindly choosing. Like those don't stick. But when you truly understand why you are making the decision to travel abroad, is so that you can feel freedom, so that you can enjoy the different cultures because you love being a world citizen. Let's just say that, right? Versus, well, if I choose to stay home and I make all the excuses that I can't travel, then I'll always be here. I would never get to experience that freedom, love, and self. We get to choose. But also, let's say you keep making the choice to not travel because you keep telling yourself you don't have the money, you can't do that, you can't leave this, you can't, like your job won't let you, all the excuses that we can come up with, right? Let's say you keep making that choice. And then you reach a point, you're like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for like 10 years. Like, I really cannot do this anymore. At that point, you can choose something else. You can choose to get your passport, which will automatically bring you to that timeline where you get to start traveling. You can choose to buy a suitcase next, right? And then next you can start researching what country you want to go visit first. And within that country, where exactly you want to go, what language are they speaking? Maybe download an app that allows you, that teaches you the language. Let's say you go into a French speaking country and you start learning French, right? All these are choices that you make that are leading you that puts you on that timeline that allows you to experience you as the freedom traveler, the explorer, the adventurer, right? All of those simple steps are leading you. One of the steps could be talking to someone who's traveled there, connecting to other people who might be living there, right? They're not big jumps, but these little steps are just actually more important than the big jumps. Because you get to learn so much from that. The little steps put you on that timeline, and then you begin to walk that timeline. And once you're on that timeline, everything like the benefits from being on that timeline to support you, there's like this mechanism, I'm going to say, that comes in to support you so you continue being on that timeline. So you notice that you're learning French. You're like, oh my gosh, I love French. Well, that energy, that feeling brings in more. And next you meet someone who speaks French and you're practicing French with someone, like in person, right? You tend to attract all that you need to continue on that journey, on that timeline. And it just takes you to take the first step that will move you onto the right timeline. So, let's make it practical. I want you to think about, bring into your mind's eye that what do you want to experience in life? And to make it easy, perhaps it's your future self. Do you know who your future self is? Who is she or who is he? I always say she because my audience are mostly women. But if you're a man and you're listening to this, just convert it and let it apply to you. What is that one thing that you want to experience? Bring that into it. See yourself live in that experience. That will be your future self. What is she wearing? What does she look like? How does she feel like? What is she doing? Like dive into it. And this would be a great way, like if you have time to grab your journal and just write. Like don't edit it, just write it down. And actually the first thing, if you have your journal, and you can always pause the podcast and go grab your journal and pen and come back and join. The first question we're going to ask is this: what timeline am I living on right now? Just ask the question, take a deep breath in and out, and begin to write. Write everything that comes through. Even if it does not make sense, trust me, it'll make sense later. Just write it all down. Focus the time on just writing it down. What timeline am I living on now? And what version of me chose it? Again, once you identify the timeline that you're on, there's an aspect of you that is living that timeline. Zoom into that person, that part of you, and experience her. Who is she? So once you've identified the timeline that you're on and kind of got some answers on who you are in that timeline and why you chose it. Now, the next step, and you can even start this on a new page where you imagine the version of you. Well, think about that experience that you really want to have, right? And then think about the version of you who is having that experience. So this will be like your future self, because again, this is, the part of you that's coming up. So it's ahead of you, right? She's already there. And again, it's you. You live in that timeline already. Oh, don't get me started on that. That's like the next stuff that we can go to, but I wanted this to be as easy for you, because if you can take the simple steps right now and understand that each of our choices, our emotions, our beliefs, all of that, the work that we're doing is what puts us on the right timeline and keeps us on there, you'll be fine, because your soul just leads the way. And once you're on the right path, the right timeline, it's like this magnetic force that brings to you everything that you need so that you can stay on that timeline. So it's getting you on that timeline. And that's what I'm helping you to recognize by first identifying where you are right now and the version of you who chose this timeline. And then next, identifying where you want to go and the version of you who is living that timeline. And we can say that's your future self. And you can ask the same question. Why did she choose that timeline? I think you would know why, because that's usually something that you desire and to experience, right? So you can immediately, that part should come in very easily, because I want to travel the world, because I want to try the different cuisines and different culture. I want to meet different people. I want to learn different language, whatever it is, right? I want to dance around the world, like whatever it is. You usually know, because it's something you've been craving soulfully. When I say soulfully, it's like deeply, like nothing can change it. It's like this unquenchable fire that just burns within you and it wishes to be expressed. So I want you to see that future self, that version of you that is living that life that you desire. And you can even say something like, just to anchor that vision, you can say, I see you, I remember you, I choose you. To just anchor that in and, to recognize yourself. What does she look like? What does she know? And how does she move? These are all, like, when you zone in on the logistics of how she looks like and all of that, it just helps you anchor this reality. You're pulling it in even more. Actually, this step that you're doing is putting you on that timeline. Yeah, we're already doing it. Right. And so in your journal, again, you can write these down. And also, I want you to answer this question. What does my future self want me to know today? Just write it down. Don't edit. What does my future self want me to know today? So for me, I have a clear picture of I call her my successful self, a very clear picture of her. And I visit her a lot. There's two scenarios where I see her. One of them, she's at home, and she's like in our dream home, staring out this beautiful window with a huge tree outside. And I go there and I just talk to her. And the other one, she's in the office. Again, it's like all glass and there's a beautiful garden around her, right? And I also go there and I talk to her there. Or usually at the office, I have all my team there too, and we have a meeting there, right? So I've developed this vision. Actually, I don't even know if I developed it. It's always been there. It feels like it's always been there. It's so clear, because the more I interact with it, the clearer it gets and the stronger it is. Your connection with this version of yourself, right? Remember, the stronger the connection, it puts you on the path and it keeps you there, right? That's why we're creating this. So asking her, asking, what does my future self want me to know today? Allow her to speak through you and just write it down. And then ask her, what is one aligned action I can take today to shift toward her timeline? What is one action? What is one aligned action I can take today to shift toward her timeline? Mm. And just write it down. Listen and write it down. And if there's a lot, if she ends up giving you a lot, which mine tends to, it's never just one. You know, so if you end up listing a lot, just take one that you can do today. One of my clients, one of the aligned action that she got was take a nap. And I was like, yeah, go take a nap. And she took a nap. When she woke up, she had she had the most amazing idea for her business that took her business to the next level. She created a legacy from just that nap. Amazing, incredible, right? It is incredible. They sound simple. Sometimes they simple steps that yield bigger results. It doesn't need to be this big flamboyant action, right? Those come up sometimes, but it's the little steps that count, because those simple little steps, we can continue doing those. We can listen and we can take the action, right? We don't have to be afraid to do the big jump. So it's like, oh my gosh, this is too much. The little ones build the courage so that when you get to that big jump, you are ready to jump. And most likely, if you've been doing the little one, when you get to the big jump, you jump without even giving it a thought. It just happens because you've built yourself to do that. So again, if you missed the journaling part, this is one of the reasons why I love journaling, because you can use that to gain some clarity and also call in. It is something about paper to, like pen to paper. Whatever you write down, you're pulling it out of the ethers into your physical reality. I'm huge on journaling. For me, one of the reasons why I journal is to just get all of this out of my mind on the paper, because there's so much that comes in, whether it's downloads or just my own mental chatter. I need to get it on paper so that I can make room in my head. Right. But also in doing so, I'm gaining clarity because I'm seeing it on the paper. It's not just in my mind anymore. I'm seeing it on paper and I can actually receive it a different way. It's a beautiful process. I know not everybody loves to journal. I get that. But it has to be a way that you can reflect, right? Whether it is recording yourself, perhaps maybe hearing your own voice. Now there's apps that you can, like Otter, you can download it and record it and it'll transcribe it for you, right? Or maybe you do a video blog, whatever works for you. It doesn't matter. This is for you. What is the best way for you to give space for what wants to come through, to build a relationship with these powerful aspects of yourself, these soulful aspects of yourself that are constantly holding space for your highest expression, which is what you're here to experience. Let's anchor everything that you received, and also the shift that I just walked you through the journaling prompts. And even if you didn't write it down and you just answered it in your mind, you actually walked through the journey with me and you were able to answer, you've already stepped in that timeline. So let's anchor it down. Let's root it down. We're going to do this with these affirmations. So just place your hand on your heart. Again, bring that image of you experiencing whatever that is that we just did, your future self, and place your hand on your heart. Close your eyes. And you can repeat after me or just receive. I am shifting into the timeline where I am fully aligned. I trust my power to choose. I am the embodiment of the future I once dreamed. Oh, I love that one. I choose love. I choose expansion. I choose me. I am shifting into the timeline where I am fully aligned. I trust my power to choose. I trust my power to choose. This is important. I am the embodiment of the future I once dreamed. And I choose love. I choose expansion. And I choose me. She's already walking the path. That version of you who knows, who trusts, who leads with light. She's not waiting for permission. She's not doubting the call. She's whispering to you quietly but steadily. Come. Every choice you make is a portal. Every breath is a new beginning. Every aligned action shifts the ground beneath your feet. You don't have to figure it all out. You just have to say yes. Yes to her, yes to now, and yes to the timeline that was always yours. Are you ready to answer? Yes, you are. All right, my loves. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And I would love to hear from you. What are some takeaways you got from this? What are some questions that comes up as you listen to this? And if you're having a hard time with this and you need support through this journey, this is why I have created my containers, Elevated Empath, Goddess Unleashed. Send me a message. Let's work together. I would love to support you in anchoring this wisdom in every fiber of your being so it becomes your reality, so your dreams become your reality. All right, from my heart to yours. Until next time, goodbye.